Hi there, Jonathan Ginsberg here, and I'd like to talk to you today about payment in a Social Security case. When we go to a hearing and the judge announces a favorable decision, or it seems like it's going to be favorable, obviously my clients are quite correctly and quite reasonably concerned about when they're going to see their money. Normally with Social Security cases, the delay is now, a couple of years, 2.5 years from the time they apply to the time they get to a hearing, and obviously money's going to be pretty tight, and the sooner the better, and especially if the judge announces a bench decision approving the case, or it's pretty obvious from what happened at the hearing that they're going to win. They want to know what's the next step, what can they do to speed along the process. And basically here's how it works. When a case is heard by a judge, the judge will typically take notes and kind of write down which way he or she is leaning. And again, most of the time, that's what they end up doing. I mean, every once in a while, a judge will review his notes and change his position, but usually they decide right then and there at the hearing itself. Once those hearing notes have been compiled by the judge, he closes his file, moves on to the next case. At the end of the day, he gives his notes to someone who is called a writer, basically a person in the Social Security hearing office who drafts up judges' decisions. And basically the hearing decisions themselves are somewhat boilerplate, meaning that they all kind of look the same. There's certain information that they all contain, and the first 3 or 4 pages basically say the same thing. So there's a template that judges use when they issue decisions, and again, what the writer will do is he'll plug in the judge's notes into that template and then give it back to the judge for review. So what you've got therefore is a person actually drafting the decision who is not physically present at the hearing. He gives it to the judge, who will again read it over, make any changes, send it back to the writer for revision, and then ultimately for signature and release. My experience has been that this process of getting it to the writer, getting it back to the judge, getting it approved, getting it signed, it normally takes about 4 to 6 weeks for that to happen. And that's a long time. It's frustrating as can be, and it takes way too long in my opinion, but that's the way it is. And the hearing office tell our clients, expect it's going to be 4, 6, 8 weeks before they get a decision. And that's been pretty constant over the last 15, 20 years in my experience. There was actually at one point there was some thought about having attorneys draft the decisions for the judge, but that didn't really go anyplace. I did it once or twice, but they still have hearing decision writers going ahead and doing that. Once the decision itself is signed and issued, it'll be mailed out to you as the claimant and to me as the attorney. It also goes to the Social Security Payment Processing Center, which will be in Baltimore or Birmingham, depending on your Social Security number. And at that point, people at the payment center have to process it and get it ready for issuance of payment. And normally, that's going to take about another month. Generally, the lump sum comes first, and then the monthly payments come thereafter. So I tell people from the time they leave their hearing office, assuming it's favorable, expect they're not going to see any money for probably 2.5 to 3 months. Could be sooner than that, but it's basically 2.5 to 3 months. There's unfortunately not a lot we can do to speed it up. The hearing offices, the writers take these cases as they're given to them. If they're overburdened, it's going to take them a while. The judges then have to find time to review the decisions. That's just, again, out of our control. I personally don't think it's a wise idea to try to harass the judge about getting a decision out unless it's been 6 months or so, 4 months, because, again, I've got to live with these judges ongoing, and again, I realize that they're working hard and they're doing the best that they can, and having some attorney, ask them about what's going on is not going to really speed things up, and they're not going to put your case to the front of the line, because everybody would want to do that then. It would encourage other people from contacting the hearing office. Once it gets beyond 3 or 4 months, I will make a phone call or drop an email or something, because occasionally cases do fall through the cracks. But generally, if it can take up to 2 months, and that's what the hearing office and the judges have told us we should expect. As far as the payment processing, again, the same thing. What happens there is when it goes to these payment centers, and they are called MODS, M-O-D-S, the MODS will actually do payment processing, and The mods are smart. What they've done now is every few months they change their phone numbers. So trying to get an updated list of the mods is very difficult. There's a claimants organization that does provide them, but every time I call the mod without fail, I'll call the number that's supposedly for the mod based on your social security number, and it turns out the number's changed. And I finally track down the right number, I get a voicemail, and nobody ever calls back. So they really don't want to field phone calls. They do their thing as kind of as at their own pace, and there's really not a whole lot we can do to speed it up until it gets to the outrageous level. If it's been at the payment center for 2 months and nothing's happened, then we can raise a little ruckus, talk to the head person at the particular mod, and sometimes get things to happen. But it's a huge bureaucracy. There's lots of people who handle the file, and I wish I could tell you that there was a lot of concern amongst the payment processing people to get these things done fast. It's just one case after the other. There's no real incentive for them to move very quickly, and I sometimes suspect that if you start harassing them, that may put your file on the bottom of the list. So I would tell you that after your hearing, expect 2 to 3 months before you see the first payment. If it gets beyond that, then we can start making some phone calls. But before then, that's pretty much what they tell us is standard. There's not much we can really do about it. No, that's not any comfort to you if you're trying to stave off a landlord or a mortgage company, but that is basically the way the system is. It's a very, very obtuse bureaucracy. There's not much we can do with it other than to try to kind of gently herd things the right way. So that is how payment processing works and the decision timetable works. I wish I gave you better news about it, but that's just the way it is. Hope this has been helpful. Again, my name is Jonathan Ginsberg, and we'll talk to you soon.